Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. So with that in mind, let's jump right in to this week's episode of Becoming Something.
What's up, podcast world? It's your boy JP, and I am in the podcast studio with, oh my goodness, what are you wearing?
This is called discipleship.
That is discipleship.
I'm wearing Jordans for the first time in my life.
Dude, not just Jordans, but Air Jordan 1s.
Come on, is that what they are?
Go. That's the voice of Nate Hilgenkamp if you're not watching us on YouTube, which you could, because you would also see, if
My
you're watching
polo?
us, it's the worst polo in the history of our
God, you
polos.
can't say that. It's branded Becoming Something.
Help
Okay.
me. Is it a bad polo?
It's not the best I've ever
I
seen.
feel like-
What do you know about fashion?
I feel like you're a person of style. Certainly, has upped our shoe game.
Absolutely. I'm proud
Dude,
of
we
the
look
shoe game in here.
sponsored today, man.
Seriously.
This is amazing. That's the voice of Madison Prewett-Troutt. Hyphenated? Did we go hyphenated?
No, we did not go
didn't?
hyphenated. We are straight up Trout.
Oh,
But we
okay.
kept Prewett. Just
So is
middle name.
that middle name? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Cool.
Well, actually, I don't know. I couldn't lose Rose either, so I'm just Madison Rose Prewett-Troutt.
Oh, great.
Madison Rose Prewett-Troutt.
So
I
how
love
do you
that.
like to be introduced? Like author, influencer, hero,
Style coach.
American
Hip-hop
Idol
artist.
icon?
I would say
singer.
influencer is my least favorite.
Oh, really?
It
You don't
really
like that?
is. Yeah.
Why don't you?
Or
why don't you
TV girl.
Like it? That's what I always tell people. Is, the TV girl's here.
We brought Maddie here today because this is on evangelism. We thought we'd
They
share
need
the
to-
gospel
yeah.
with you.
I need a lot of
on
help.
the air.
So why are you in Waco right now?
Grant Trout decided to come and work for this guy sitting in the middle right here.
Wow.
Work with.
And so we moved here. Well, we got married 6 months ago. Right when we got back from our honeymoon, we literally were in Dallas for one day and then came down to Waco.
Wow.
So we've been here for almost 6 months, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's working for Harris Creek.
Man, we had so much fun at their wedding. I mean, that was one of the best nights of my life.
It was one of the most beautiful weddings I've ever had the privilege.
Nate was not there.
I've
He's
ever had
lying.
the privilege of attending, and I
So
do
hurtful.
understand, that it was you guys were restrained. You could only invite 5,000 of your closest friends, and so I understand you have to
So
draw.
I didn't make
you
it.
have to draw the line somewhere.
You
Not
know what's
everybody can
crazy
be
is like
invited.
there were still people that didn't get invited.
Man,
You know?
Yeah.
so hurt. Was Tim Tebow there? Am I making that up?
No, but his wife was. She's a good
I
friend.
know. That's amazing. God.
Do you have like a man
My-
crush on Tim Tebow?
Yes, like especially after JP met him and just said he was
That is funny,
the
especially
best.
after JP met him.
Well, because you're like, dude, his what'd you say? What are these? I don't really
Biceps?
have them.
What are these? Nate said, "What are these?"
What are they?
Biceps?
You're like, they truly are bigger than my thigh.
That's
I
a
just
fact.
want to see it. It's
That's not an exaggeration. That's a fact. Here's the thing about Tebow. He brought. I didn't know what to expect, and I appreciate him, not knowing him well.
What
But
sport did he play?
Dude brought the word at Passion. last
Oh
year.
yeah, he spoke at Passion.
And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
like,
he's
laughed,
legit.
cried, like it was inspiring.
Do you think he just naturally woke up and was able to speak like that?
No, I think he has worked hard at it. I mean, he went from being a football quarterback to preacher, speaker. No, I think he worked hard at it.
Yeah. Anything else we need to know about Maddie before we start talking?
Oh,
Any
gosh.
interesting facts?
It's like a little bit. I'm sure they're like, wait, why is Maddie there? So one, she lives in Waco. Two, I said the evangelism thing. You guys kept
Oh my
going,
gosh.
but I have been, and even when we brought you on at Be So Live, and you started quoting the entire book of what? I was like, was it
Okay, it was
Ephesians?
one chapter of
crazy.
Ephesians. I got through like halfway.
Still, but I
Yeah.
feel like people are like, and even as we talk about Tebow, it's like, it's shame on me. I feel like I should repent because I'm like, wow, I'm so surprised that he taught the word so well and accurate
Yeah.
and in an inspirational way. And I feel like some people are like, whoa, I'm so surprised that, Madison Trout in her free time is memorizing Ephesians, right? And that's so you were up there at BSO Live. You were there at BSO Live, and we brought you on stage as a potential co-host. And so here you are.
Here I am.
This is your shot. This is your interview.
This better go well.
I hope I ace it. Who's grading? Nate?
Yeah, I got my phone right here. I'm taking notes.
But like last week, Scott Brickle was talking about how somebody makes it.
Yeah.
In the music industry, because in Nashville there's so many people who are amazing musicians. And he said, and I love this, it's such a surprising answer. He said, they're a good hang. I feel like you're a good hang.
A good hang.
Yeah.
Like a good time? Like a good vibe?
Yeah, good hang.
Totally. I mean,
Totally.
so I wasn't here for that
like
episode.
Nate, on the other hand.
Yeah, right. I'm just here because I got dirt on JP.
Like he shows up like, hey, let's hang out. I'm like, I'm busy. Changing the sock drawer, man.
Hey, I've had fun playing pickleball with you at your house, so I appreciate all the invites.
Have you ever
played? I feel like I have, but I don't really remember.
Is that what's like mini tennis kind of?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I played once.
You don't play all the time?
I played like once. Well, Grant can't really play because he's had all these hip
Oh,
problems.
that's right. Yeah.
I've never seen a sport take off like that.
So we should clarify. So Maddie married an 80-year-old.
No, but literally in our engagement season, he is getting a hip replacement.
Hip replacement.
And I'm like, you are 27 years old getting a hip replacement.
That's
It's true.
amazing.
Okay, so we installed a pickleball court, and it has been the best investment. And by investment, I literally spray painted the lines on the concrete.
This is at your house?
Yeah. I genuinely cannot wait to go home tonight and play my daughter in pickleball because she beat me yesterday.
So, like, are you and Monica playing each other, like a little healthy competition?
100%. We played.
Did she beat you?
Monica and I played yesterday. No.
No.
She probably will because she's a better athlete than me. We played golf recently, and she smoked me.
Really?
Do you ever feel like you can't just go home and be alone? I feel like you got people over all the time. And that driveway is just like, hey, come over and play.
No,
like,
I don't want to be alone.
Man.
Wow.
terrifying.
Grant literally was over at your house and he came home and he was like, it was the coolest thing. I felt like I was, back in like the day where there was no technology and everybody in the neighborhood was over at JP's house.
That's amazing.
He was like, it was so cool.
Like the what is it? It's like a cul-de-sac, kind of a roundabout there. And it is just always full of people. But that's like people in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except
Which I'm a
us.
part
We
of.
haven't been invited.
Right. I know.
Nate,
It's
it's
ridiculous.
all right.
One day, guys. One day.
Unbelievable. Hey, so I think you there's
That's
a
the
lot
longest intro
I
ever.
know,
I feel like you're about to transition. I don't even know what we're talking
That was an
about
abrupt
today.
transition. I'm like, where are we going?
I don't even know what we're talking about today, and I feel like that was the longest
I
intro.
just think, you and I could really learn a lot, JP, about leadership. So, Maddie, how do we get better at leadership?
gosh.
What are the steps that you can take to grow?
I am in Waco, Texas to learn from JP's leadership.
Okay, fine. We'll ask JP then. How do you grow? I feel like.
How do you grow as a better leader?
Yeah, and maybe before that, do you think everyone listening should want to grow as a leader? Like, if you're not a CEO, if you're not in charge, like, why should you listen to that conversation?
It's like if you want to know if you're a leader, you look behind you. If you have followers, right? And so we say followers in terms of like Twitter and Instagram. Those are people you're leading. Like they're in your sphere of leadership. If you're a husband or a wife, you're certainly leading. If you have children, you're certainly leading. But also if you work, there's leading up. And so, well, I'll say there's leading down, which is what everyone thinks. Is like, hey, there's people beneath me and I lead them. There's leading out. That's peer-to-peer leadership. And then there's leading up. And so everyone, if you have someone that you report to, you're leading. You're influencing them. If you were here to define leadership, we would just define it as influence. Like, hey, how do I influence people? Like some people might say, hey, you're an influencer, which is really just a 21st century way of saying you're a leader. You're leading people. And I was talking with some friends this morning. I was thinking about how James says, let not many teach, for they will incur a stricter judgment. And how there are lies that I've believed that I'm afraid that I will pass on to other people, because a part of everything that we believe to be true right now is some non-truth, right? There's all kinds of things that we've bought into that aren't absolutely true. And so it's like, how do I make sure that what I pass on to the people is good leadership, that what I'm teaching them is right. But if the question is like, hey, how do I become a better leader? I'll ask you, if I said, hey, I want to become a better runner, what do I need to do? What would you say?
Train.
Like, what does that mean, train?
Practice. Work hard
practice,
at the
so
sport.
run, right?
Yeah, run.
So, okay, so run. Okay. So let's call that reps.
Did you ask me because I ran track in high school?
No, did you really?
I did.
There we go.
I did. I ran
What'd
the
you run?
400.
400.
Yeah.
That's
400 is the
race.
worst.
The worst.
Like of any sport you could do, I feel like the 400
My
is
dad
the
was the
hardest.
coach, and I would look at him every time and be like, I quit. And he'd be like, no, you don't. Get on the line.
Because you basically have to just like sprint, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
the whole time.
Oh, wow.
I too ran the 400.
No way.
Yeah, it was not. That's
Why do I
hard,
feel like you're too tall to run the
It's
400?
a hard race because you're discriminatory
Yeah,
toward tall
it's a
people. Okay, so reps, right? So if I want to become a better leader, then I need to create opportunities or to take opportunities to lead, to influence other people. What else? If I want to be a better runner, what do I need to do? Like, what would you say if I just said, hey, Maddie, I want to grow as a runner. What do I need to do? You say, one, run. What else?
Learn from great runners.
Okay, so have a coach. You said your dad was coach, right? And so if I want to grow as a leader, then I need to have feedback. Our worship leader this weekend, our worship leader was actually at another church in town, leading at another church in town. And so we have two worship leaders. Freddie was leading us here, and he led the huddle beforehand, you know, just like as everybody got there, the tech and the AV crew, and we're talking through the service. And when he was done, he said, hey, how would you have done that better? Or what could I have done better there? And he's asking for feedback. He's asking for coaching. And so it's like, that's what great leaders do, is they say, hey, what you're out there, you're receiving the information, you're hearing it. What could I have done better? And so I would say you create those feedback loops. That's going to make somebody a better leader. Okay. So I come to you, and I know we're jumping back and forth on the metaphors. We say, Madison, I want to grow as a runner. You would say, all right, you need to run. You need to have a coach. What else would you say?
You probably need the right shoes, right?
Okay, so like equipment or resources. So then you're thinking, all right, what is my area, my sphere of leadership, and what resources do I need? So if I'm teaching on Sunday, if that's my sphere of leadership, then I need a good Bible and I need some good commentaries. If it's one-to-many, I may need a good microphone. So it's like every leadership opportunity is going to require the right resources. If I'm leading through social media, maybe good lighting, a good device or whatever. It's like, so what is that? What are the resources that I need for success? What else? So back to running. I want to grow as a runner. What do I need?
Probably the right goals. If you're like, man, I want to run a marathon, you shouldn't be like, and I'm going to run 26.2 miles today. Like, it's just, you're going to fail if that's the goal.
So you said goal, but I think it's also, you also hinted toward expectations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it would be the right expectations paired with the right goal. And so, hey, I want to have a death grip on how good of a runner I am today. Right. I'm not gonna sign up for a marathon next week. That's gonna set me up for failure. But I might say, hey, I want to run a marathon in 4 months. And so now I'm going to take the next 4 months and train for a marathon. And so so tomorrow, why don't I start by running a mile? And then I'm going to try to increase that mile I may run a mile for a week, and then I may run 2 miles the next week. And then I may run from 2 miles to 4 miles and figure out, hey, what is the right way to increase as I train, to ask my coach, hey, how am I doing? And, have the right equipment and then to get the reps. I think that's honestly how you get better at anything.
Yeah.
Is there anything, like if we said, how do you get better at anything? Is there something in that list that's incomplete that we would add to it?
No, I would add to that of just like know your why. Like why are you running? That's
good.
kind of what you're speaking to, is like the goal. Like what is the goal? What's the, like when you're trying to get to that finish line, what's the finish line? What's the prize, I think if you don't know your why, if you don't know why you're trying to do something, why do you want to get better? Or is it because you want to be better than the person next to you? Is it because you want to raise? Is it because, like, what's your why? Or is it because you want to honor God with your life? And so I think knowing your why, I think for me, like that's like what wakes me up in the, like I want to be a better wife. Why? Because I want to honor the Lord. I want to glorify God.
Yeah.
I want to love my husband well. So I think I think a lot of things in life kind of come back to that.
Yeah.
Yes, like I think motivation, right? What's your motivation? What are like the wrong motivations for leadership? You're an expert on that.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I didn't even know that was like a subtle jab until you started laughing.
I'm teasing.
That's
I'm
amazing.
teasing.
Well, not really. I mean, well,
We
like,
all struggle, right?
yeah,
we all
for
struggle.
sure, for sure. I mean, like, I want to speak on a really big stage. I want people to know me. Like, it's fun to be known by people, and like to people who want to be like you. Leadership, like, wrong motives. Man, I want to make more money so I can drive this car or whatever. Like, I want to lead so I get all the things.
Bad motivations for leadership. Any thoughts?
No, I agree with that. I think in a totally different way, I think bad like motivation. I think when people think of motivation, if it's not paired with discipline, then you're fully just going off of feelings and emotions. I think the best leaders aren't led by their feelings and emotions, but they're led by their why, they're led by their convictions, they're led by their beliefs. And so for me, like rooting my foundation on the Word of God is what's going to continue to grow me as a influencer and a leader. But if I'm just going off of what Maddie feels like doing, well, Maddie's going to wake up some days and she's not going to feel like reading the Bible. She's not going to feel like serving her husband, you know?
Yeah.
So I think also in a completely different way, just not being led by your emotions.
Yeah.
Why do we do that? Like, why do people want the things that have been tested over and over that don't bring happiness and joy? Like, I haven't seen it's like the Hulu documentary on, I think it's like on Carl Lentz, maybe.
I just watched that last night.
Oh, you did?
With Grant.
Well, I saw
wow.
I saw the clip, so I haven't seen it. But I saw in the preview, it's like him, and he goes, "You do not want this. You do not want.
You don't
this.
want to be sitting in this chair."
Yeah,
So
and
he's interviewed.
At the very end, it like all leads up to him speaking out on everything.
Oh, wow.
So I see that, and I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. But I think the temptation is, and I know there's also a part of my heart that like does, right? We want, what do we want? We want to stay in nice hotel rooms. We want to have influence. We want to be able, like, we want to make a lot of money. We want to have like authority over a team and people that do what we say we want, and when we walk in, everyone feels like respect, and they recognize you when you go somewhere. Like, why do we all want that? Like, what? Like, I'm serious. Like, what in our heart like wants those things?
Well, it's like, I mean, like Carl didn't. I haven't watched it, but and from what I've heard, I don't think Carl handled that well. I think I would handle that better.
Yeah.
Like, if I got all those things, I would handle it better, and I would enjoy it more. And like, he struggled, but I wouldn't.
Like, we think that.
Yeah.
Like, we think.
Yeah.
Because you would, right? I mean, that's the natural drift. And it has to be rooted into, so there's this narrative that is not taught enough that Satan was an angel. So there's a Satan. There's a demonic force on this world. The Bible calls him the prince of the air, the little g god of this world. He's here. He is among us. The Bible calls him the little g god of this world. You know, I think we forget that. And he is trying to influence us away from God. And the nature of him in his story is he did not want to worship God. He wanted to be God.
Yeah.
And so he rebelled against God, and he led an army of angels against God who are now fallen angels on this earth, demons. And God says, and it's like God says, oh, you want to be God? Then go down there and try to be God. And we're all a part of this cosmic experience or experiment, rather. And it's like, who are we going to worship? Who are we going to serve? Are we going to serve the God, the creator of the heavens and the earth? Or are we going to serve the little g god of this world, the prince of the air, who's trying to influence us toward worldly things? Like, what does he use to lure us away? As he tries to lead us away with the things of this world.
Yeah.
And so I think the only way to be a better leader is, you know, anywhere in the scriptures you see the word leadership in relation to Jesus, it is almost always synonymous with servant or serving. We see that in Philippians 2. He did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, We see that in Mark 10, for the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as ransom for many. And so if we're talking about how do I become a better leader, we have to say, all right, how do I become a better servant to those that I'm leading? Like, how do I care for them? And something I'll add to the list is like, just show up. Like when calamity hits or when troubles hit, like you show up to their house, you make the phone call, you whatever you can, like get with them and help them and say, all right, what are those needs and how do I remove those barriers and whatnot?
There was a Friday Q&A question this week. It might have been about this, and I wish we could go back and see it. But one of them was, hey, when disaster comes in someone's life, like
show up. Yeah.
Like almost take advantage of it. That's the time to really knit your heart together and show up for them and care for them.
Well, by take advantage of, it's like if I want to grow as a leader, it's like the listener may have limited opportunities. Yeah. And what are those opportunities for you to lead are really when trouble hits and say, all right, like this is my time to lead. Like, hey, let's go. Anytime you have the attention of someone, it's like, all right, how do I lead well in this? And again, if you're seeing that through a scriptural lens, a biblical lens, is hey, how do I serve well in this?
Yeah. Yeah, speaking to that a little bit, because I think there's probably a lot of people that are like, well, what does it look like to serve well? And I was just reading in Matthew, I think it was Matthew 23, where it was talking about Jesus having a conversation with, how do you say it, the Sadducees? Is that how Sadducees. Yeah. And he's having a conversation, and he's literally saying about them, like, these people only do what they do for other people to see. And he was talking about it almost with, like, disgust, I feel like, because I think there's also a level of leadership of serving in the secret place, of serving when no one's looking, giving, pouring into people when no one's around. And I think a lot of people think when we think about leadership, it's on a stage, it's in front of a lot of people, it's on a big platform. And for those who are like, I don't have an opportunity to pour into thousands and thousands of people, you know, what could it look like for them to just serve the people in front of them?
Yeah. The Sadducees.
They don't believe in the resurrection, so right. They're sad, you see.
There you go.
Sad, you see.
There you go. They don't believe in the resurrection, so they're sad, you see. The Sadducees. That's good. I knew I could count on you, man. I knew I could count on you.
Do you know why they're called the Pharisees? Their skin was like really fair.
No, they're fair, you see. Fair, I see.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so Matthew 23 is the seven woes. Woe to you, Pharisees! You make them twice the sons of hell that you are. And so, what was the question in that?
Just how do they serve? Like, what does it look like to serve? If maybe they don't have a big platform, maybe they don't have this big following. What does it look like for them to use the gifts God's given them to be an influencer, to be a leader? But you're saying that Jesus is saying, hey, leadership is really just service. Like, the greatest among you must serve. Like, that's what that looks like. So how do they apply that to their life?
Man, I want to do a podcast just on this. I think that, I hate that we're going to put this at the end of this podcast. I hope you hung in there, because I'm very excited about this idea. Man, I think like the essence of being a Christian, right, is you become friends with the most powerful force in the world. And I really do try to live my life like God is always up to something. So just as an example, I'm getting on a plane, and there's this guy beside me, and he says, hey, what group are you? And I go, I'm group 4. Why? What's going on, buddy? What group are you? And he's like, oh, I'm group 7. I really hope I get on it. And you could just tell he doesn't travel a lot. And I go, oh, you're going to get on, man. You got a ticket. They got a seat for you. Don't you worry about that. And he goes, man, that's okay, good. My wife just had a heart attack. I need to get home to see her. I'm coming off the rigs. I'm working in the oil field. He goes, hey, I'm sorry. Like, don't get too close to me. I don't smell well. And he was like right about then. I realized like, oh wow, you don't smell well, and or smell good, and so I was like that's interesting. Like, man. And so right there, I was just like, hey, let me pray for you. You know, what's her name? And I pray for his wife. And he starts wiping away tears. And that was it. That was it. Okay. So then we're getting on a 737, 150 something seats. And he, you know, I get on group 4. We're waiting to close the thing. Group 7 comes on. He sits right in front of me. Full plane, full flight, no other seats. He sits right in front of me. I'm like, all right, God. It's just like, what are you up to? Yeah. You know, what are you doing? there's one. I met two people while waiting in line to get on that plane, to board the plane. It was him and one other woman who came up and was just like, "Hey, I'm really encouraged by your ministry," and just said some kind things. She sits right beside me. He sits right in front of me. Okay. That's what I would say is like a not coincidence. Like God's doing something. So I begin to pray, Holy Spirit, how do you want me to serve these people? What's different? She's a believer. She's got her son with her, and it's like, all right, how can I, help her entertain this 1-year-old? He is not a believer. I'm like, hey, let me ask you a question. Between 1 and 10, 10 being certain, 1 being not so sure. If you die today, how certain are you that you're going to go to heaven? So all of us, and then I share the gospel with him, right? So all of us we're constantly, like, as a Christian, we're set in this narrative of this story that God is writing, and all we have to do is open our eyes. I'm in the grocery store yesterday. I see this lady looking at she's well dressed, you would assume well-resourced woman.
Was it Adelie?
It wasn't Adelie. It wasn't Adelie. She wasn't sad, you see. She's there. She's looking at the
watermelons.
The register.
Why?
She's looking for a register.
Literally, why?
She's trying to figure out which register, but you could just tell there was like a distraught look on her face. And I was like, everything okay? And she's like, oh, I forgot my wallet. And I go, oh, dude, I got you. No problem. And she's like, no, I'm not gonna let you do that. I just need to run back to get my wallet. And so she goes to her car to get her wallet. Well, I'm in line. I grab her basket and I just start loading her stuff up. And I set the thing, and I don't know if she's gonna make it back or not, but I hope she doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is just an opportunity to serve, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And then she did make it back. And she's like, yeah, it was in the car. And she was like, thank you so much I was looking for my basket. And I had to wave her down. I was like, no, I got it. Your stuff's on the, on the conveyor belt. And it's just like, you're just constantly looking for those ways to serve. It doesn't require people whose attention you have.
Yeah.
Like everyone today, like just open your eyes and you will see opportunities to serve others. And as you serve others, you're going to be given opportunities to lead. Don't do it for that reason. But as you serve others, you will be given opportunities to lead.
The 2 thoughts on that. One, last night, I do happen to be in a group text with JP, which is awesome. I have his phone number. And one of our coworkers said, the 4 times I've been most encouraged by you, JP, only one of them you were actually on stage, and one of them was actually you giving the stage to someone else, which is cool.
And one of them was watching a basketball game, so let's be fair.
But it's like that was an encouragement to him. And then also, I think the pushback from people at the beginning of the episode would have been, man, I'm a young adult. I don't have reps. Like, I don't have reps to lead other people. Yeah. I'm not leading a meeting. In fact, I'm just a cog in the machine at my job. Like, I don't have reps. And I love that you're just like, I was at the grocery store leading. Yeah. I was on the plane leading. And by the way, I was serving. Mm-hmm. So
everybody has reps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think just like wherever, if you're in a small group, right, you have reps. If you work, if you sit in a cube farm, you have reps. If you're a barista, totally. I mean, you have opportunities to impact someone's life all day.
I think ministry is wherever your feet are. And I think that's a lot of people come to me and they're like, Maddie, how do I get involved in ministry? I want to speak, I want to do, and I'm like, well, how are you ministering to the person in front of you? How are you loving the person in front of you? Because ministry is literally wherever your feet go. Yeah. But I think that's so cool that the 2 examples you gave were like on a plane and in a grocery store. Because those are real everyday things that where we find ourselves, in front of a Chick-fil-A, worker, passing by somebody on the street. It's like, how are you loving that person?
One time I was given a message and I said, mission is between your 2 feet. Like mission is wherever your feet are, what you said. And this young woman came up afterwards and she was crying, and she was on crutches and she was missing a leg. Okay. True story. And she's like,
why are you laughing?
I didn't think that's where this was going.
No, I'm serious.
We're going to pray for Nate after this podcast.
I do all the time. But I say that. I say missions between your 2 feet. And she's missing a leg, and she comes up on crutches, and she's crying, and she's like, you said mission was between your 2 feet. Now I don't know where it is. And I was just like you. I was like, oh man, okay. and then she was totally punking me.
Oh my gosh.
She was totally
Did you try so hard not to laugh?
No, I wasn't. I was just like, I was like,
so
no, I wasn't. It wasn't funny. Like like she was legit crying, and she totally was messing with me.
What an actress!
Like, I know, she got me good.
Wow.
Yeah, that reminds me of another story that. Remember when you told us all to go share the gospel and someone on staff?
Oh yeah, bought socks. Yeah, that's one. What's in summary? What's the y'all remember the things?
So be a runner.
So
buy some running shoes.
So run fast.
Run really fast.
So if I want to be a better leader, what do I got to do?
You got to have reps.
So so I'm looking for opportunities to lead, which is really opportunities to what?
Serve.
That's right. Serve. What else?
Find a mentor, a coach.
Coach. Feedback. You're looking for feedback. Hey, how did I do?
But I don't have a leadership coach.
Okay. So you can ask anybody there, like the best coach is somebody you're leading. Say, hey, how was that? How did I do there? And push past the platitudes and the flattery of, oh, you did a great job. No, it was great. No, what would you have done that was better? Ask open-ended questions, not yes or no questions. What could I have done that would have made that time better?
Doesn't that undercut your leadership though? If you're talking to the people that you're supposed to be leading,
again, if humility is a key ingredient, then no, it makes you a better leader.
Yeah.
So again, we have a false dichotomy, a false idea of what leadership is, which we think is, an authoritative complex. Those are terrible leaders.
Yeah.
Okay. So I need reps. I need good feedback. What else?
Preparation, discipline.
Yeah. Preparation, discipline, the right expectations and goals and motives.
The why.
The right why. Expectations, goals, motives, and then the right resources. Right. I need to have what are the resources that I need for successful leadership.
Craig Groeschel's Leadership Podcast.
Yeah, which is an amazing resource.
So
I mean, like that's some of the stuff I even learned from my time with him. Like I was really inspired. I mean, he's a great leader. So,
which I think also to speak to that is like surround yourself with other great runners. Like do life with people who lead well. Like doing life with a Craig Groeschel for it's like surround yourself with other great leaders. You want to be a great leader, surround yourself with great leaders.
Yeah,
facts.
And I mean, after this, I can talk about when I was with Louis that one time and.
Yeah,
we talked.
Yeah. Can't take you seriously.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for tuning in to this week's BSO. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. To find out more, visit becomingsomething.com.